Welcome to Rethinking K-12 Education Grant on Demand. This episode is Create a Teams Meeting and Using Teams Meeting with your LMS for Teachers. What and why? What is this? Teams Meeting is a Microsoft Office 365 application that allows you to hold virtual meetings with students or colleagues. Why does it matter? Microsoft Teams Meeting works well with the other Office 365 applications. It is mobile-friendly and free. Several school districts see Teams Meeting as a viable alternative to Zoom, and you can customize it to meet your needs. Learning objectives. By the end of this session, you will become familiar with the Teams toolbar options, explore scheduling Teams Meeting from Outlook, Schoology, and the Teams app, learn how to modify Teams meeting options, and create channels or breakout rooms for your class to move amongst them with ease. Meetings in Teams include audio, video, and screen sharing, allowing you to join or run online meetings with students and colleagues. Before you dive into scheduling and running your own meetings, you may want to practice joining and participating in a meeting with colleagues. You don't actually need to be in the Teams environment to join a meeting. All you need to join a Teams meeting is a link. When someone sends you an email with a Teams meeting link, once you click on the link, you can download the app if you want to, but you can also easily participate by clicking Join on the web. So this is an example of what an invitation looks like. And if I click on Join Microsoft Teams Meeting, a screen like this comes up. Now it's prompting me to open Microsoft Teams because I already have it installed on the computer. So I'm just going to hit cancel. And then you can see it's going to give you several options depending on what type of device that you're on. What I recommend is clicking on continue on this browser, and you won't need to download or install anything. Once you've clicked on opening it in the web browser, you'll be prompted to enter your name, and you can determine whether or not you'd like to share your video and if you'd like to be muted when you join. Then you're going to click Join Now. So this is an example of joining a meeting before the meeting starts, and you're going to be put into what's called the Teams lobby. So the organizer will let you in from the lobby once they start the meeting. Here I've logged in as the organizer in another tab, so you can see what it looks like when someone is waiting in the lobby. You can either view the lobby to see everyone that's there, and then you can invite people in by clicking on this check mark right here. So now I've gone back to my participants screen. I've just joined the meeting, and I wanted to show you some of the settings when you are joining a meeting as a participant. Once you've joined the meeting, from left to right, you'll see the meeting duration. You can turn on or off your camera and mute and unmute your microphone as needed. This little arrow in the box allows you to share your screen if needed as well. You can also raise and lower your hand, open up and type into the meeting chat, which shows up on the right-hand side, and view the participants. Let's get this back. Here we go. So this button here lets you view the participants. And then last but not least, this little button that's red will hang up the call. So whether you're participating on a computer or a mobile device, the same settings will be available to you. I personally enjoy the chat feature in the Teams app on my phone. I find it makes it easy to ask and answer questions from the participants. So now that we've explored participating in a meeting, let's look at different ways you can schedule your own meeting, and then we'll take a look at the settings available to you. The first scenario I want to review is how to schedule a Teams meeting using Outlook. In Outlook, you would click the calendar icon in the bottom left corner. So usually you would start by going into your mail, and then you would click on this little calendar icon here. In the upper left-hand corner, click the button New Event. And then click on Add Online Meeting and choose Teams Meeting, as shown here. Complete all the meeting details. You can invite participants directly from Outlook, any documents or text that you want to share, and then when you're done, you click on Save Meeting. Once you've invited your participants, they will receive an email similar to the one I showed you, where they'll be able to click on the Join Teams Meeting link. Scenario 2 is scheduling a Teams meeting within your Teams calendar. If your school or district is using Microsoft Teams on a regular basis, you might be familiar with this environment already. So in order to schedule a team meeting within Teams, once you go into the Teams environment, you click on Calendar on the left-hand side, and then click on the date and time you want to schedule the meeting, add your attendees, add meeting details and comments, and then click Send to Invite. So it's similar to scheduling in Outlook, but it allows you to schedule the meeting within Teams. This meeting event will appear on your Outlook calendar if you schedule it in Teams because it's all one and the same. If your school or district is using Schoology and they've installed the Teams meeting app in your courses, you have the ability to schedule a Teams meeting there as well. So you open up Schoology and open a course. In the left-hand column, you'll select Teams Meeting. You'll sign into your Office 365 account, and you'll click on Create Meeting Link. You'll enter a title for your meeting, and then you'll click on Meeting Options to set permissions. So we're going to talk about permissions next, and you'll be able to do that right here. Now, after you schedule the Teams meeting, you're going to want to copy the link that it gives you and give it to your students. So I'm actually going to go into Schoology and demonstrate a couple different places that you can put the Teams meeting link for students. So now I'm in my Schoology environment, and when I want to add a Teams meeting in my course, I'm going to click on Teams Meeting on the left-hand side. And once I've signed in, I've already done that. I'm going to create my meeting link, give my meeting a title, decide on the time, and then click on Create. So the meeting is now created, and it gives you the information you need. So if I just click on Copy, there's a few different places where I can give this to my students. One option is to give it to your students as an update. So perhaps I just want to say, students, here I did it here earlier. Students will be meeting today at 1. Click the link below when it's time, and I gave them this information. And then they'll get an update that we're having the meeting at this time. The second option is materials. You can add it, let's say, into a folder or just on its own, maybe at the top of your materials area. And you can click on Add File/Link, choose Link, and just hit Copy here. Copy paste right into the spot. Team meeting, 1 p.m. with the date. I usually click on this little button here that allows it to open up in a new window as well. So now I've added it as a link at the top of my materials. Another option is to add it to the calendar in Schoology. So I can click Add Event, put it on the date and time, team meeting, 1 p.m., and then paste in that info here. So Schoology does give you quite a few options of where and how you can get that info out to students. but it does allow you to create that link right in Schoology itself. Now I want to get into the settings next, because regardless of how you decide to create your meeting, whether it's through Outlook, through Teams, or through your LMS, you can actually have a little bit of more control over your settings. So we're going to talk about that next, and we'll talk about it in the different circumstances. Let's talk about the default settings for Teams meeting when you set it up. So without even knowing anything about the settings, it's important to understand what the defaults are and what you have control over. So we'll talk about where to go to get to the settings, but the default settings show you the meeting title, the date and time, who the host is, and then meeting options here. So who can bypass the lobby, people in your organization, announcing when callers join or leave, that's on its yes, and then who can present everyone. So these are the default settings. You can always modify them for each meeting. So we're going to talk about that now. So there are two roles in Microsoft Teams: presenters and attendees. And Microsoft Teams assumes that everyone is in the presenter role when you create the meeting. So there's two different ways that you can make your students attendees rather than presenters. And what this really means is that as an attendee or a presenter, everyone can share their screen, everyone can participate in the chat, can show video, etc. But what you don't want the students to be able to do is start and stop the recording or mute and unmute other students. That wouldn't be the best thing. So one way to do it is when you start the meeting and your students join, you can hover over your students' names and actually just make them attendees, and they can still do everything that I just mentioned. The second option is the screen you just saw before. If you click on meeting options, so that's the button that you click on, you want to change who can present to only me. So again, this prevents them from being able to being disruptive, muting each other, starting and stopping the recording, etc. So here I am in Outlook again, and I went to my calendar down on the bottom left, and I started a calendar invite, and I clicked on that I wanted it to be a Teams meeting. So when it creates the link, it looks kind of small, but it says meeting options right here, and you're going to want to click on that. So when you click on it, this is where you'll see those settings, and now you can change things around. So if you wanted everyone to just bypass the lobby, you could, or maybe just you. Maybe you want your students to go in the lobby so you can let them in. Maybe you don't want to announce when callers join or leave, so you have the option to turn that on or off. And then who can present, I highly suggest changing it to only me, just for the reasons we spoke about earlier, and then clicking save. Back in the Schoology environment, the options work the exact same way. Once you've created the link, just click on meeting options, and then determine if you need to change any of the options here, and the settings will hold. Another thing I want to make sure I mention is that you can create breakout rooms with Teams channels. So if your school or district is using Teams, then you might have created additional channels before. There's a general channel, and that's where probably most of the work is happening. And then you could create additional channels for the different groups that need to work together. Once you've done that, there are these three little dots here that you can click on to get a link to the channel. So each of the groups, each of the channels has a separate link that can be used like a breakout room. So they just need to know which link to click on to get into the room so that they can participate and speak to each other and work together. So you can paste that link onto a Schoology page or a Word document, and then save the resource and make sure that the groups have access to the links that they need. And then as a teacher, you can use the same links to enter each group to monitor participation and progress. So I just want to demonstrate the breakout rooms in channels idea. So here I am in the Teams environment, and I'm going to click on one of my classes. And it's these three dots you want to click on to add a new channel. So maybe I'll call this one group 2 since I already have group 1. I'm going to show this in everyone's channels list, and I'll make one more. So I'm going to click on these three dots, this little ellipses. I'm going to add channel, and I'll make group 3. So now that I've made the groups, which are really functioning as breakout rooms, I can click on the ellipses next to the group, and this is where I get a link to the channel. So I'm going to copy this. So let's say I needed to give this to the students. There's a variety of ways you can do it. In Schoology, like I said, you can copy and paste those links into a Schoology page. So let's go out there and take a look at that. So here I am back in a Schoology course, and this course has a bunch of folders in it with materials inside the folders. So let's just say I wanted to click on this plus sign and add a page. I can call it group assignments, team meeting links for a project. And then for each group, cut and paste the link. So I'll just hit create here just to show you that it, using that little green plus sign, puts it at the top here. And so when a student clicks on it, they should be able to go right to the link. If it doesn't turn into a link right away, you can highlight and then give it any name you want. So you can just say at this point, you'd want to make sure the link is at the top here, and then just say group 1 Teams meeting link. And then you'd be able to put it right there, and they'd be able to click on it and access just the meeting for their specific channel. This part. So you can also post it as an update in Schoology. And I wanted to show you Teams meeting links here for project work. And then you'd cut and paste the links and tell them which group was which in whatever way works out for you. But when you have all that information in there, if you click on this little plus sign, you can click on the check mark next to the bell right here and post it. And what that will do in Schoology is it will pin your update to the top of your materials area. So the students should be able to find those links relatively easily if you do that.
Now that you've reached the end of the episode, you should have become familiar with the Teams toolbar options, explored scheduling Teams meeting from Outlook, Schoology, and the Teams app, learn how to modify Teams meeting options, and create channels, breakout rooms, for your class to move amongst them with ease. For more information about additional TRLE video on-demand sessions and other available TRLE programs, go to pd.swboces.org/TRLE_grant or contact Mary Beth Wilson. We value your feedback about your experience with this digital resource. Please take a moment to share feedback about your experience with this resource using the following link.